Imagine waking up to a single week where the biggest IPO in human history just hits the tape. The U.S. government completely bans the export of an AI language model. And oh yeah, Appa's leadership just turns entirely upside down.
It's just a quiet week, right?
Yeah, just totally normal. Welcome to the broadcast, everyone. Today is Sunday, June 14, 2026, and the data and research we've collected for today's deep dive covers the highly eventful week of June 6 to 13, 2026.
Eventful is putting it mildly.
Right. You are tuning into Macroeconomy AI, and the title of today's broadcast is AI Observatory, week of June 6 to 13, 2026.
It's fantastic to be here with you. We have just a monumental amount of groundbreaking data to dissect today.
We really do. But before we jump into the deep end, we just want to give a massive thank you to you, our listeners and viewers, for tuning in. And we also want to thank today's sponsor, TechSphere Data Solutions. Remember, this channel is dedicated to bringing a compilation of analyses and news on macroeconomics, technology, and artificial intelligence. TechSphere Data Solutions helps enterprises seamlessly integrate AI into their legacy systems securely and efficiently.
Which is more important now than ever.
Totally. Check out the link in our description to learn more about how they can future-proof your infrastructure.
So, setting the stage for today, our mission for this deep dive is, well, making sense of an unprecedented week where artificial intelligence officially migrated.
Migrated how?
Well, we're watching the foundational technology of our era move from, private concentrated startups to massive public entities of systemic global scale.
Right. The scale's just different now.
Exactly. It's a fundamental restructuring of how this technology is funded, governed, and ultimately distributed.
Okay, let's unpack the sheer scale of this restructuring, starting with the public markets, because we just witnessed SpaceX debut on the NASDAQ under the ticker SPCX. And keep in mind, right, SpaceX now incorporates xAI, the Grok Assistant, and the X social network all under one roof. They hit a $1.77 trillion market cap on day one.
Which is staggering.
It's officially the biggest IPO ever. And what's fascinating about SpaceX swallowing these AI branches is that it completely changes the valuation metric.
How so?
Well, you aren't just valuing software anymore, right? You are valuing a combined infrastructure of space-based telecommunications, physical hardware, and this exclusive data pipeline.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, that combined infrastructure is exactly why the market reacted with a $1.77 trillion valuation. The consolidation basically cements Elon Musk as the central pivot point in the global AI race.
Because he owns the whole stack.
Exactly. He controls the compute, the distribution network, and the underlying data layer. But, the capital movement didn't stop there.
No, not even close. I mean, OpenAI simultaneously filed a confidential S-1 with the SEC for its own IPO. Yeah, and estimates are putting their potential valuation anywhere from $852 billion to an even $1 trillion.
They know they need that liquidity.
Right. They need that public market liquidity to compete with a massive conglomerate like SPCX.
And if we look across the globe...
Right, Engine AI.
Yes. Over in Hong Kong, Engine AI, which is a major player in Chinese humanoid robotics, they also filed for a confidential IPO.
It's just wild.
It is. We are watching the foundational infrastructure of the future century get their public price tags all in one single week.
Okay, let's unpack this. This feels like the dot-com boom, but on absolute steroids.
That's a really good analogy, actually.
Like, we aren't just watching companies go public, we are watching the baseline plumbing of the next 100 years get priced.
Yeah, and the strategic insight to pull from this is really the death of Silicon Valley's monopoly on deep tech capital.
Oh, interesting.
Because the sheer amount of capital required to build the next generation of these models. I mean, the energy infrastructure, the data centers, the silicon, it's so immense that private venture capital simply cannot sustain it anymore.
VC funds just aren't big enough.
Exactly. Only the global public markets have the depth of liquidity required for this phase. And the Engine AI filing in Hong Kong proves that deep tech capital raising is splitting across global financial hubs.
It's a multipolar race now.
Very much so. And just as a quick reminder to you listening, while we are discussing these massive valuations, none of this is investment advice.
Right. Strictly educational.
Exactly. We're simply analyzing the macroeconomic shifts here.
Well, in these market caps, they're being justified by the underlying software leaps, right?
Yeah.
Which brings us to a massive escalation in capability this week.
The model wars.
The model wars. Anthropic just dropped a bomb on the market by launching Claude Fable 5 for general use, and Claude Mythos 5 for advanced use.
And the benchmarks are wild.
They are. Fable 5 completely crushed OpenAI's GPT 5.5 on this SW Bench Pro. We're talking a score of 80.3% compared to GPT 5.5's 58.6%.
We really need to explain why that 80% threshold on SW Bench Pro is such a watershed moment.
Yeah, break that down for us.
So this benchmark tests a model's ability to solve real-world software engineering issues. Breaking 80% implies, essentially, autonomous agentic behavior.
Meaning it doesn't need us holding its hand.
Right. It means we're looking at an AI that can autonomously handle complex coding architecture without human intervention. You're no longer looking at an autocomplete tool, you're looking at a digital junior developer.
Which is huge, because if you are listening to this and you run, say, a mid-sized tech company, this metric is crucial.
Absolutely.
It means you can't just default to OpenAI anymore. You actually have to run concurrent testing on Claude for your dev teams to stay competitive.
And the broader market is definitely realizing this. If you look at the RAMP AI index,
Which tracks, what, over 50,000 U.S. companies?
Yep, over 50,000. It shows Anthropic just beat OpenAI in U.S. enterprise adoption for the very first time.
Yeah.
It's 34.4% for Anthropic versus 32.3% for OpenAI. And a huge driver of this is Claude Code, which is currently responsible for 4% of all public commits on GitHub right now.
4%. That's insane.
It's a lot of code, and enterprise adoption is the ultimate macroeconomic indicator because it translates to sticky, recurring revenue. But, you know, the terrain in this sector changes faster than any industry we've ever tracked.
Wait, I don't buy that the terrain changed naturally this week.
You mean the leak?
Yeah, almost on cue. An unreleased OpenAI checkpoint called GPT 5.6 Kindle Alpha suddenly, quote-unquote, leaks via developer test paths.
Very convenient timing.
Exactly. Early reports say it shows massive leaps in reasoning, coding, and vision capabilities.
Yeah.
Come on, you don't just randomly leak a frontier model checkpoint on the exact day your biggest rival launches their flagship product.
It's highly suspicious.
Right. Are we just watching an endless game of leapfrog? Like, Anthropic takes the crown on Tuesday, and OpenAI mysteriously leaks Kindle Alpha on Wednesday just to steal the spotlight back. Are we reaching a point where aggressive PR tactics are driving product releases rather than actual safety benchmark?
It's a fair question, and it's highly probable that the leak was orchestrated to blunt Anthropic's momentum. But looking at the RAMP index analysis, OpenAI might not actually need to rely on PR stunts for long.
Why is that?
Well, Anthropic's lead is actually quite precarious because of their heavy reliance on developers and coding products.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, this hyper-concentration makes them highly vulnerable to massive distribution engines like Microsoft Copilot and Google Gemini.
Because those are already on everyone's computer.
Exactly. They're deeply integrated into the software suites businesses already use daily. So Anthropic has this superior standalone engine right now, sure, but distribution infrastructure often beats raw capability in the long run.
Right. Convenience wins. And because these models are crossing that 80% autonomous threshold, they aren't just enterprise tools anymore. They are strategic assets.
Which brings in the government.
Big time. We are seeing governments step in and treat these language models literally like munitions.
The export ban.
Yes. The U.S. government issued a shock directive this week that suspends access to Anthropic's new Claude Fable 5 for non-U.S. citizens and non-permanent residents.
Which is unprecedented.
Totally. This is the first time export controls have ever been applied directly to a large language model.
And the mechanics of how a government enforces an export ban on a cloud-based software service, I mean, it represents a profound shift.
Because it's not a physical thing?
Right. Historically, export controls applied to physical goods, you know, uranium, stealth technology, microchips.
You can put a guard at the border for those.
Exactly. To enforce this on a language model, the U.S. government is mandating strict Know Your Customer, or KYC, protocols and identity verification for API keys, combined with severe geofencing. We are witnessing the birth of the AI splinternet. The fundamental idea that the internet and its underlying technology are borderless is officially dead.
That's a chilling thought. And the ripple effects of that splinternet are moving rapidly. Like, Taiwan is now officially considering restricting the export of advanced AI chips to China.
Aligning with the U.S.?
Yeah, effectively aligning their hardware policies with the U.S. software policies.
And the corporate casualties of this geopolitical alignment, they're immediate. Microsoft just laid off between 200 and 400 Azure employees in Beijing and Shanghai.
Just this week.
Yep. And this is their third round of cuts in China in 2 years, driven entirely by data sovereignty laws and geopolitical tensions that restrict information sharing across borders.
It's just tearing the global tech stack apart.
It is. The strategic insight for you to take away here is that national security and computing power are now permanently intertwined. You cannot separate the geopolitics from the tech stack anymore.
You really can't. And this fracturing isn't just happening at the nation-state level with export bans, right? We're seeing it at the corporate ecosystem level, too.
Yes, the Apple news.
Exactly. Even companies at the scale of Apple are finding that they can no longer force a unified global product through fragmented regional laws.
Right.
So WWDC 2026 just took place, and it was historic on multiple fronts. Apple announced iOS 27 and a totally rebuilt Siri, which is now powered by Google Gemini.
Huge deal.
But the absolute shocker was Tim Cook announcing his retirement effective September 1st, handing the reins over to John Ternus.
A massive transition of power at the world's most influential consumer hardware company.
Truly the end of an era.
But before Ternus even steps into the role, Apple has hit a structural brick wall in Europe. The EU completely blocked the new Gemini-powered Siri, citing the interoperability rules within the Digital Markets Act, the DMA.
Okay, think of Apple in Europe like a bouncer at an exclusive club.
Okay, I like this.
Right. Apple has its VIP list for who gets to be the voice assistant. But the EU is basically saying, no, under the DMA, everyone gets a turn in the DJ booth.
Right, open it up.
Exactly. But the problem is, Apple's DJ booth, the iPhone's core operating system, isn't built for multiple DJs. To let third-party AI models integrate deeply enough into the OS to function like Siri, Apple says they have to expose underlying privacy architecture and APIs.
Which breaks the security of the whole club.
Exactly. So rather than open the architecture, Apple is choosing to withhold its flagship AI features from Europe entirely, just saying Europe just doesn't get the music at all.
That perfectly illustrates the tension between ecosystem security and anti-monopoly regulation. But meanwhile, if we look at the Global South, the regulatory attitude is entirely different.
Complete 180.
At the Web Summit Rio, which drew a massive 34,000 attendees.
That's huge. Yeah, massive event. OpenAI's leader for Latin America, Bruno Lewicki, he argued that Brazil doesn't even need new, sweeping AI laws. He pointed out that existing frameworks like the Marco Civil and their General Data Protection Law, the LGPD, already suffice.
It's such a contrast.
Yeah.
They're looking at AI as an application layer that falls under existing internet privacy laws.
Right.
Whereas the U.S. is treating it as a weapon subject to export controls, and the EU is treating it as a monopoly threat subject to antitrust laws.
It's totally fragmented.
If you are building a global tech product today, the compliance landscape is just an absolute nightmare.
It forces companies to build fragmented versions of their technology tailored to specific jurisdictions, which, again, further accelerates the reality of the splinter net.
Yeah, we're building walled gardens everywhere. And to power all of this fragmented high-level AI, we inevitably hit the physical bottlenecks of our world: energy capacity and physical labor.
The real-world constraints.
Exactly. On the energy front, a startup called Flourish AI just raised $500 million.
Backed by Bezos, right? Backed by Jeff Bezos, yeah. And they're building bio-inspired AI. Their mission is to solve the massive energy crisis caused by the current generation of transformer models.
Which is desperately needed because transformers, the underlying architecture behind GPT and Claude, they're computationally exhausting.
How do they actually work that makes them so heavy?
Well, they process every single token of data against every other token in parallel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this requires massive data centers that are currently straining national power grids to their breaking points. But Flourish AI is attempting to build neuromorphic architectures that mimic the human brain using sparse activation.
Meaning they don't light up everything at once.
Exactly. It means the system only powers the specific pathways needed for a given task, rather than lighting up the entire network at once. It's a necessary evolution if AI is going to scale without causing a global ecological crisis.
That makes total sense. And while Flourish AI is trying to solve the energy bottleneck, we have standard bots tackling the physical labor bottleneck.
The robotics side.
Right. They just raised $200 million to build native AI industrial bots right in New York, like physically manufacturing them in Glen Cove.
Wow, domestic production.
Yeah, aiming to capture 10% of the U.S. market right out of the gate from Asian competitors. And the crazy thing, these robots don't require complex coding. They just Watch a human perform a task and learn it natively through vision and neural networks.
Just by observing?
Just watching and learning.
When we connect these developments, the macroeconomic picture becomes incredibly stark.
Yeah, it really does.
We have Claude 5 crossing the 80% threshold, preparing to replace cognitive coding labor, and simultaneously we have standard bots and engine AI preparing to replace physical industrial labor.
It's coming from both sides at once.
Exactly. This convergence of cognitive and physical automation is exactly why the political endgame is suddenly dominating Washington.
And the politicians, they are doing the math on what this means for the labor market and wealth distribution. We are seeing a wild bipartisan convergence on this issue.
It's rare to see.
It's very rare. Senator Bernie Sanders just proposed the American AI Sovereign Wealth Fund Act. His proposal would have the federal government take a 50% equity stake in major AI companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, and xAI.
50%.
50%. But how does that even work in practice? If a government owns half of an AI lab, do they get board seats? Do they have veto power over open sourcing a model?
The mechanical details of the proposal are still highly theoretical, but the reaction from the industry is what really matters here.
Did they push back?
Well, Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, actually met with Sanders and is reportedly open to the concept of public participation.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, he certainly didn't endorse the 50% equity number, but he acknowledged the need for a mechanism to distribute the wealth generated by artificial general intelligence.
That is wild. And on the other side of the political aisle, the Trump administration signaled interest in a revenue-sharing model, where AI companies share profits directly with the U.S. Treasury rather than the government taking direct equity control.
Observing the macroeconomic indicators impartially here, this is a profound moment.
It really is.
When you have both the progressive and conservative wings of the American political system discussing sovereign wealth funds and revenue sharing for a specific technology sector, it indicates a consensus that wealth concentration driven by AI is an existential societal risk.
They both see the writing on the wall.
They do. They see a future where both cognitive and physical labor are vastly cheaper, and they're trying to figure out how to capture and distribute the generated wealth to maintain baseline economic stability.
It is absolutely wild to step back and look at the trajectory of this broadcast. I mean, we started by unpacking the massive IPOs of private companies building these models, right?
Yeah.
And we're ending it with the government openly discussing taking 50% equity stakes in those exact same companies.
It's a massive pivot in just a few days.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. If governments begin taking massive equity stakes or revenue shares in AI labs because the technology is deemed too vital to society, does the very concept of a private tech company cease to exist in a decade?
That's the real question.
Are these AI labs destined to become something more resembling public utilities, heavily regulated and partially owned by the citizens they serve?
It is arguably the defining economic and structural question of our time. And before we close, I must present our standard disclaimer regarding the information discussed today. Please remember, this broadcast is strictly informational and educational, compiling public market data, projections, and analyses. It contains no ideological bias and is not investment, financial, legal, or tax advice of any kind. Economic and technological projections change frequently based on new market data and facts. Past performance does not guarantee future returns. The purpose of this space is to introduce concepts and stimulate professional debate. Strategic, financial, and wealth decisions require in-depth, personalized analysis. Therefore, always consult with qualified professionals and specialists before making any decisions.
Thank you so much for breaking that all down, and a massive thank you to you listening for joining us. We really hope you tune into our future deep dives as we continue to track these massive shifts in the global economy.
It's going to be a wild ride.
It definitely is. That was today's Macroeconomy AI. We'll leave it here. You all stay well and keep an eye out for our new broadcasts. Subscribe to our channel, access the links, and follow Macroeconomy AI on social media.
Bye.
Bye.